Hi everybody and welcome to my first knitting podcast. Someone please explain to me why it's called a knitting podcast. I have no idea who came up with this complete misnomer when a podcast suggests to me that it's purely audio. And obviously this YouTube blah blah is visual as well. But anyway, we need visual for knitting, right? It can't just be audio. Like you can't just hear like the click clack of needles. And some people don't click clack as much, which is like a real skill. Anyway, so introductions first. Hi, I'm Jamie and I am behind a very recently started Instagram account. And obviously this is the inaugural starting point of Sunfield Makes. I wanted to call it Makes because, frankly, I started off knitting, and I'm patting my like pile of knitting here, after a very horrendous life-changing accident, and knitting has been my complete stay in all of this, as well as my loving husband and dog and blah, blah, blah. But yes, knitting. And I've recently discovered that I would really love to dip my toes, jump full throttle into the sewing world as well. The premise of all of this is really that because of my accident, my body has changed considerably. I need to look up the definition of disabled, but basically I am disabled. I really don't like using that word. What do people say? Lesser abled? Yeah, whatever. I have a wonky body now, okay? Like most of my left butt is missing. My left leg is considerably skinnier because a whole layer of skin is gone, please. Oh, should put like a disclaimer of like trauma here. And I've had to learn to walk again. And one of my legs is shorter and blah, 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 blah. Because even pre-accident, I don't want to say fashion, but I loved wearing clothes so much. Well, everybody likes wearing clothes, but I love how wearing clothes makes you feel. I love the tactility of really good quality materials. And I love that you can really express yourself or change a mood or your vibes depending on what you put on your body. And actually a big part of that has always been that I've always loved making. Fundamentally, the biggest thing I loved to do as a child was draw, make, do anything with my hands. I obviously went to law school and became a lawyer, but yeah, that's by the by. I still always did life drawing. I still do that when I possibly can. And printmaking and etching was my medium of choice when I wanted to go to art school before university and law school. So yeah, that's a lot of background. But yeah, let's get into it. So I know the normal format of a knitting podcast is really whips, finished objects, whips, works in progress, and maybe your purchases, I want to say, or things you want to highlight and that you've loved. I wanted to start this first knitting podcast with a list of all the things I have knit, not absolutely everything, but all the things that I have knit seriously in the past just over a year. I've realized it hasn't been much longer than that, of my knitting journey so far, and a bit of sewing, teensy bit of sewing. So I started knitting in earnest sort of October of 2022. I knew how to knit before. I knew how to knit and purl. I'd had a granny and an aunt like show me how to do that. And actually I was in hospital for about 6 months. And during that time, one of the first things when I became conscious and out of my coma was that they had told me to try for pain management when I was bedbound was to keep my hands busy and to distract yourself from the physical. And the first thing they were like, okay, well, do you like making things and drawing? I was like, yes. And they were like, okay, well, do you know how to knit? And I was like, yes, very basically. And effectively what they were saying was that the repetitive process and the concentration of knitting in particular was going to detract your brain from the pain sensors and actually desensitize you to your pain receptors a little bit. So yeah, I got seriously into it. If you go onto my Instagram, I don't really like sharing this stuff, but this is a forum for this, isn't it? This community is amazing, and we're pretty we're pretty tight and nice people, so that I've met so far. So here we go. But yeah, so I have a post on my Instagram that I posted about that sort of journey. I hate the word journey. I hate the word journey. Hate it. But it is the road, the path, the adventure that I've been on with making. And yeah, I'm now realizing I've babbled on for 5.5 minutes without even talking about proper knitting articles. So yeah, so basically, I know the typical knitting podcast format follows FOs, whips, purchases, acquisitions. I'm going to start this first podcast with all the things I've made so far since winter 2022. And yeah, I'm just looking here because I've got my notes here. I wanted to keep everything digital, but the more I try, the more I just go back to a notebook, really. So yeah, and this is a really beautiful notebook. This is from Choosing Keeping, who make the most glorious stationery, another big love of mine. And this is like hand blocked. Oh, gorgeous, like, oh, just absolutely gorgeous. Hand blocked and I believe bound notebook with beautiful paper. And look, the edges are like, can it focus a bit? How do people do this? Does it focus? Yeah. It's got this like marble dyed edging and then the lined paper, which is not my favorite, but this notebook does that. And this particular one is a collab with Mirror Water, but I just like the green color. Oh my God, bring me back here. You're going to see this a lot. Let me take a sip of my tea. Here you go. Here's another one. New favorite mug from the Chuffed store where I worked at with the most incredible Millie, who has such an eye for crafted, handmade goods, all made in the British Isles. And this is by Sophie off Sosha. It's a really beautiful mug. Absolutely gorgeous. And the inside's beautiful too. It's got chamomile tea in it. Okay, I've digressed again. Okay, let's just get started because that's 7 minutes of babbling now. Okay, so the first thing I ever knit, I'm looking at the screen here, is the baby cardigan sweater, like buttoned up thingamabob, and it was a gift. I joined my local yarn store, Wild and Woolly, in Clapton in East London, where Anna and Bronte and Helen also host this amazing emporium of really gorgeous yarn. It is my favorite. I have another favorite, which I'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, they run a thing called a club called Sweater Club, where you join them for like 6 sessions, you know, consecutive, almost weekly sessions. You go through a project with the guidance of Anna and Helen of the Wool Kitchen, and you sit around a table, and she has the most beautiful mugs and teapot from Freud and, you know, milk jug and all that nice stuff and biscuits and yummy things. And you just sit around, you start from the beginning and you chat and you get to know each other in a very nice, small, tight-knit group. And it's wonderful. I love it. I love Sweater Club. I have a pin somewhere. I need to show that another point. But yes, as part of Sweater Club, like getting back to this, I knit as my first item this baby cardigan sweater thing with red buttons that I got also from Wild and Woolly and from the Ellen's Coming Home set by Petite Knit. And that was knit at a perfect Goldilocks DK weight in the West Yorkshire Spinners Pure Bow Peep in like this mustardy yellow. And it was for a Christmas present for I think about 10-month-old nephew, and they loved it. They really loved it. I'll try and put a clip here. Is that what people do, right? They put like a picture here, right? I'll try and do that. Yeah, that was standard DK weight on 3.5mm needles, and the West Yorkshire Spinners Pure Bow Peep is 100% Falkland Islands wool. I don't know what that means, and to be frank, I think that's another part of this journey. I'm not gonna hate that word journey for many reasons, but yeah, maybe I'll do like a section on terminologies and technicalities and things I've learned, like an educational section. Not that I have any qualifications whatsoever to do that, but I'll just share my learnings with you all, maybe, and people can correct me and I can learn more and yeah, be a bit more knowledgeable about this stuff. Who doesn't love knowledge? So yeah, that yarn in particular is lovely for baby knits, and I have used it on many an occasion now. It is my go-to for baby knits. It's not crazy cheap and it's not crazy expensive. So it really is like the perfect Goldilocks thing. Okay, so that was the first one. Let me try and put a clip here. Okay, and then the next thing I knit up as a part of Sweater Club. I can't remember if it was the same Sweater Club or a different one. I'm just looking at the dates. I think it must have been the same one at some point, because it's this bad boy, and I do still have it because I knit it up for my husband. So you're seeing a trend here where I started off knitting only gift knits for other people. I have very much progressed into very selfish knitterland, and I'm not mad about it. I have knit up a lot of baby stuff and we'll talk about that. But yes, this is the warm-up sweater by Espace Tricot. I believe they're a yarn store and yarn brand in Canada. I think so, hence the French stuff. And this is knitted up in the yarn Puno by Gepard, which is all the rage at the moment because of the Super Celine cowl that is going on to support Anna Wenzel, which I think is wonderful. And you can buy this at a few spots in the UK. I think it's very soft, and especially at my Ivory Room where my friend Valentina runs the show. So yeah, this is a free pattern, the warm-up sweater, and I knitted it up for my husband, who is almost 2 meters tall, nearly 6'6". And yeah, I learned a lot of lessons from this first jumper. I obviously, it's huge, it's humongous, it's really long, it's this long, it's not a good angle for my chin. The sleeves are really long and it doesn't quite fit him either, but hey, we all live and learn. It's my first jumper, sweater jumper. I'm in the jumper camp here, I'm English. So yeah, it's a classic raglan construction with a very simple line going through detail, 1x1 rib. Is this an Italian bind off? No. I think this was literally a simple bind off because it is a free pattern for beginners. And it does have some shaping in the back, some GSRs, some German short rows, which I was learning to do, as well as obviously doing like an entire top down raglan sweater, because the previous baby one wasn't that, it was knit in parts, which I can't even remember how that worked now. That was in December 2022. This I knit up from the beginning of December 22 until mid-Feb 23. And it took me a long time because, yeah, my first time knitting. I am actually genuinely amazed at, if I may say so myself, at my tension. It's pretty even. You cannot see my GSRs. I'm actually quite all right at that. Some qualms about this pattern. And I had a discussion about this with somebody else on Instagram. I have forgotten their name. But yes, about this. Prefacing it by the fact that it's a free pattern, but the shaping on the neck, it might look all right here, but because the depth of the armpit, I guess, where this joins and the shoulder starts is not quite right, and where the raglans do and where this should sit, right, especially if my husband's like a lot broader. This neck is quite square. It's not meant to be square, it's a crew neck, right? And it funnels up a little bit before it like comes down. You can't really see it that much. Now that I've mentioned it, you probably can, but you can't see it that much now, but it is there, and it's not particularly pretty and it's not particularly nice, and it just doesn't fit quite right for a slouchy, very warm jumper, because of course this is the Gepard Puno, which is just beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's lovely. And for the sake of keeping this forever as, you know, a memento of my first proper knitted up adult size garment that I have in my possession, because the other one went to my nephew, obviously, I won't ever be frogging this, she says. This is a bulky weight, and it's a mix of 68, 22, 10 of baby alpaca, a net core, because this is a blown yarn, a net core of nylon polyamide and merino wool. So the majority of this is baby alpaca, so it's incredibly warm and soft. And this blown yarn concept, Anna at Wild and Woolly was explaining to me, was really interesting. It was very, very in vogue last December, still now, I guess. I think the Karma Rose Sneffnug, which I also have a bit of, is knitted up in that, and it just knits up really quick. It's really lovely. It looks really luxurious. This is what I always giggle with Wild and Woolly people, that this is the rich beige. This is RBB, and I have a good friend who only basically knits in RBB, and I also love an RBB, although I do love colour. So yeah, that's about it really. It's extremely long. I'm not going to make any adjustments to it. I'm not going to make any modifications to it after the fact. It is what it is. It's my first ever jumper. I'm wearing it here for, you know, pure joy of sharing my first make with you all. What's next? Oh yeah, that was an Aran weight in the pattern, but the yarn itself says it's bulky weight. And it was knitted up on 5mm, so it was really, really quick. Okay, so that was the second FO ever. My third one, because I got addicted and I was like, I need a jumper. That is mine. Mine. For me, only for me. And guess what I picked? Classic beginner jumper. It's the Louvre sweater by Petite Knit. Now, the fit is gorgeous. It's a raglan. I wanted to try the chestnut sweater actually because it's got a drop shoulder and it's not a raglan, but I thought I would learn more of the raglan and keep going because it's basic, and I'm glad I did. This is it. You'll have seen it a lot on my feed because I've realized it's pretty much my only like 100% woolly jumper. I've only got one other jumper that I've knit for myself. I really need to rectify that. I always think I'm a quite quick knitter, but maybe I'm not. I don't know. I don't know how any of you feel about this. I have been getting speedier, but do you know what? It's not all about the speed, is it? Except when I desperately want a finished object for my wardrobe, which happens all the time. Yes, so tech stuff. This is the Louvre sweater by Petite Knit. It's knitted up in the Sadness Garn yarn Peer Gynt. Very affordable, but it comes in very small balls. So yeah, this needs is about 1,500 meters, 1,500 meters. I don't know the yardage on that. And in imperial measures. And yeah, so that is now what I go with. When I need a sweater quantity, I like things quite oversized. I'll go 1,500. I need 1,500 meters of whatever they've got going. And then I know I have enough because I am that person. But yeah, it is the yarn that's called for in the pattern. It is the one that she wore. And it's probably one of the last times, if not the only last time, the last time ever that I've knitted something up with the yarn that has been knitted up by the knitter, by the designer. But I'm kind of glad I did it because one, as I said, this is very affordable, the Peer Gynt, and it feels lovely and it's really sheepy, and it is another variation, although a tweedy one, of the RBB, isn't it? This is DK weight, using 4mm, which I think is one of Petite Knit's most used needle gauge, I guess. I use 15 skeins total. This is a size M, a medium. I know she's changed some of her sizing, and I know it's a topic that's talked about a lot, and I'll delve into that a bit more, but I'm just not educated enough on that as of yet. I'm quite a standard size. I'm really not a stickler for sizes, but UK, European wise, I'm between an 8 and a 12, depending on the brand, honestly, and I'm really not fussed about it. It doesn't bother me. I don't care what people label me as such. I just buy whatever I feel I want the fit to be from that particular garment, and that's like a size between 36, 38, 40 European. This is a raglan construction. What is annoying that I've noticed is that the raglan, it doesn't continue under the arm, and I think, does it not? No, it doesn't quite, like just quite. But I know my favorite things knitwear one stops almost like here, isn't it? I don't think if you can see in the video, but this one, oh, maybe this is the same. I don't know. Anyway, what I really wanted to say with this was that it's top down. So you're meant to do like, I think more than 10 centimeters of this funnel neck, but because it's not like polo neck here and then the line starts for the rest of the stockinette, because it's almost like a circular yoke in a way, it spreads out a bit. You can see in the pictures, like everywhere on whoever's knit the Louvre sweater. But because it was the first time I'd done this amount of ribbing, this being the last time I did any, I was like, I hate this. What is this? I was doing it on Magic Loop and I was like, never done Magic Loop before. No, I had on this thing. And I was like, I hate it. And you have to cast on this in, what is that? I've written it down. Like a stretchy cast on, right? Why have I not written that down? I've not written that down. Anyway, you have to cast on in this special stretchy cast on. This is like Italian cast on, whatever. So I did it. I did as much as I could. I got bored and I stopped, and this must be not 10, like 8 centimeters maybe. So it doesn't quite sit like all the pictures, but it also means that it doesn't spread out at my neckline, because I don't particularly like that look. It doesn't suit me. I'm quite, well, I feel anyway, that I'm quite broad here, so I don't want to accentuate that. I always want to narrow this down a bit to give a good contrast and balance my body out when you look at things. What was really interesting about this, getting back to it, is that I was like, okay, I know I want my underarm to not be very gappy, because I fixed it since then, but it's a little bit gappy. And I was like, I know I don't want that. So then I got into a YouTube channel mania. I fell into that hole, which was the first time that I properly fell into a knitting YouTube mania. And that's probably when I first started properly watching YouTube videos and knitting podcasts. And that was in the beginning of January 23, so a year ago. And I found, when I Googled stuff, Handmade by Florence's step-by-step sweater. And I was like, good grief, why did I not know about this pattern before I knitted this warm-up sweater? Because I would have used that pattern, because she literally guides you through every single step of making a very simple top-down but beautiful raglan sweater. And I believe, looking at the pictures, the neckline's a lot better than this as well. So yeah, so I'd recommend that for a beginner knitter if that's what you really wanted to start off with. But yes, what I liked about her section there was how to do a non-gappy underarm. So when you put the sleeves on hold, obviously after you've done the yoke, and then you cast on the stitches to do the sleeve, right? How to, when you cast on, make this nice and tight. So when you lift up your armpits, you don't get a rush of cold air. And her suggestion is to cast on 2 extra stitches on either side, and then you tighten them up. And now I do that on all my sweaters. Although I've now seen I only have done another sweater after this, one more. So yeah, I will do that, and I do that, and I will probably go back to that video time and time again. It's a very good one, amazing resource. What am I saying on this? I took many liberties on the ribbing. The sleeves, one is shorter than the other. Let me see if you can see it on here. You can only tell if, because you know, right? You know if you know. Can you see that? So there's that one. Oh, how do people show stuff on YouTube? I don't understand. And that one. So yeah, look, you can see it there, right? It's like 2 to 3 rows too short. And this, I did do an Italian bind off as per Petite knit, and it's the first time I had done that. Many first times. Maybe I'll also keep a log of all my first times. I think that's a good idea. I have a good sense of achievement when I come to an end of year review. So yeah, so I'd done that. And then also the bottom ribbing, I got fed up and I didn't do the whole lot as well, but it's pretty good. Ooh, it's a little bit boggly, but yeah, again, Italian bind off. I love it. It's very neat. I love it. I love this jumper so much. Now, I went back because I was like, I'm going to lengthen this neckline. How difficult can it be? You know, you just chop a bit off, pull it out. I massively cocked everything up. Had to go back to Wild and Woolly, and I was like, no, what am I doing? And she was like, listen, just frigging knit a bit more, because that's what you said you want to do. And because it was too short when I hadn't done enough ribbing. So as I said, it like flowed down the neckline, and then it was like, and then it was accentuating my slightly stubby neck. Yeah, I'm not fishing, by the way. It's not like really long and elegant like some people's. But yeah, so then I was like, well, I want it to be stretchy. I want it to look neat. And she was like, Jamie, stop it. Just stop it. Just cast off neatly, you know, in normal, whatever you call it, normal cast off. And I did, and it was fine. Look, because it's so stretchy, I guess it's fine. There's plenty. Then I had tried to salvage something because I'd made a mistake on the shoulder. Where am I? Yeah, this is my back right shoulder. And look at this. So I think one of the ends had come loose or something when I was joining. Look at this. Okay, why aren't you focusing there? This bad boy. Focus. Oh, there. This bad boy. There we go. This bad boy. It's like a hump on my right shoulder. It's terrible. But yeah, I tried to fix it myself and I was like, ah! And then I went to Wild and Woolly and Anna again. This is a recurring theme here. And then she did something and I was like, don't like that. That's not very neat. So I undid it and tried to do it again. And now it's just a monstrosity. But do you know what? This is how I know it's mine. It's mine. Again, my first jumper that I knit for myself. And I'll never let it go. It's a good starting point to show me how much I've improved and learned, and I love that. I absolutely love that. What did I also write up here? Oh yeah, so this is the one that I learned about splicing. If you don't know what splicing is, which is, you know, what planet have you been on? Because this yarn is quite toothy, like really sheepy, this Peer Gynt, and it's 100% wool, what you do is take out the ply. So the twist has got like, how many twists has this got? Like 2 or 3, whatever, the plies. And then you take 2 ends and then you sort of split them apart, put them up together like a puzzle again, and then leg, spit on it, whatever you want to do. And the friction basically causes the thread plies in the 2 ends to mesh together and basically felt. And I understand that it's the enzymes and the saliva, it's something to do with it. The water just won't do it. The enzymes in your saliva, nice it is, work to fuse the 2 threads together, and you've got, ta-da, one long one. So as I said, there are 10 balls that are needed for this project. I only spliced maybe the last 2 balls. I didn't know about it, so I had loads of ends to weave in. I didn't know what the heck I was doing, and now I am much more the wiser. Not yet wise, but more the wiser. So yes, I wear this a lot. And I know that I need to do more projects like this. I have a yarn quantity of BFL, West Yorkshire Spinners Jacobs in this brownie colour, like a neutrally colour that I love. That is ready to be made into the chestnut sweater. So again, drop down. I've never done a drop down construction, so I'm really excited to try that. Be kind to me because it's only been a year, I'm realising. Just over a year of proper knitting. I'm also realising I'm nearly 28 minutes, half an hour into this podcast, and I've done 2 projects. Okay, so I'm going to put this away. I'm going to put this away into what is now fast becoming my bring over to the studio, my shed. This is a brand called Suzanne Bijl. She is Dutch. She's done some collabs with Hay and stuff, and some quite famous people, and she uses materials that are generally recycled, I believe, and yeah, and I really like the designs. They're really cool, and this is a really big one. We have several as like shopping bag things, so yeah, I'm gonna put that in there because I know I've talked about it, and I'm obviously wearing this one because I've talked about it. Sorry if that was a lot of noise. Okay, so that was project number 3. I began that in January 23. And then I finished it at the beginning of April 23. So that's Jan, Feb, March. 3 months. Oh, it was my first big project though, wasn't it? And I'm not a monogamous knitter. I'm seriously polygamous, and I'm trying to work on that. But, you know, commitment issues. No commitment issues. I'm married. Okay, vest number 1 by my favourite things, Knitwear. So one of the yarns at Wild and Woolly is the unspun Manchalopis by Wool Dreamers. I tell you what, it's like a cloud. It's incredible. I'm looking over there because my whole yarn stash is over there. And I fell in love because I'd done so much RBB, so much rich beige. I fell in love with this red terracotta colour, which is a big favourite colour of mine. And I knit this up. And I was like, I'm going to look uber cool like everyone in East London, and I can make it really boxy and it's going to be awesome. So I took from the advice of Bronte, Sonic, who has a channel too, her planners channel, and sometimes she talks about her knitting, which I love. And she's a good friend of mine. Hi, Bronte. And at the advice also of Anna at Wild and Woolly, I chose this Manchalo piece in the colour Cauldron, and I started it at the beginning of March, so I must have crossed over just as I was like nearing the end of the Louvre sweater, and that's a running theme as well. I happen to do that. I get sort of like nearly to the end and I'm like, bored, I want to start something new. Here it is. I love it. You'll have seen this a lot. Again, I am so impressed at my tension. Can we just admire my tension, please? Like, just look at this. Wow. The yarn's also glorious. It's so incredibly light yet warm, like you couldn't believe. So this is an unspun yarn by Manchalo, like I said, who have an amazing brand ethos and motivation to promote and save and make it worldwide known that Spain has incredible yarn and sheep breeds. Is that the best way to phrase it? But yeah. And this unspun yarn, which unlike, I believe, like Nutiden or Letalopi or whatever other unspun yarns, and I know Inga at Knitting Traditions talks about them a lot, and I love unspun yarns too after this. Again, I've got 2 other colours. I will do a tour of my yarn stash one day. It's just terrifying me. It's really embarrassing. Embarrassing, but I love it. Who cares? So yeah, and it comes wound up in cakes, much like the Nutiden. And it's a lot softer than the Nutiden, but then it's also a lot more breakable than the Nutiden. And I was like, oh, is this too hard for a beginner knitter, Anna? And she was like, nah, you can do it. I was like, all right, cool. But yes, it comes in cakes in 2 threads. So 2 held together makes a, I'm looking it up here, a DK weight, and 1 strand makes a much lighter weight, right? But it's just so light. I mean, I guess if you hold it with mohair, it's quite, it strengthens the yarn. And this is probably the first project I did where I thought, my God, I love yarn. I love yarn. How can it be that this uber airy, basically some fluff that has been just manipulated into a string, but not even like, you know, plied, just fluff, fall apart, clouds of sheep's old winter clothing, basically. How can it hold together with just 2 strands? And I think even in one, it becomes quite tight. And that tension and the air, and with literally like sticks and some knots, you make this. Isn't that crazy? And I'm quite precious with it because I'm like, oh, is it going to get holes? How do I mend it? But it hasn't needed any of that. So yeah, so it's DK weight. I knitted it up in 5mm needles. I was still at that time very much into my C-knit bamboo ones because I love them, and aesthetically they were very pleasing, and I saw them everywhere on my knitting channels, and I just wanted them, and I got an interchangeable set, and I still have them, and I love them. I like the grip of the bamboo as I was knitting up with the Manchalo because it gives a sense of more what do you call it, not permanence, it makes you feel a bit more grounded, that it's actually something, like there's some substance there while you're knitting. Yeah. And I actually chose the design because I love the yarn so much. So this is the first project where I was like, I love the yarn. What am I going to knit with it? Yeah, it's like a cloud. It's warm. It's fluffy. It's gorgeous. It's glorious. I love it. As I said, I wanted to go uber boxy, very Studio Nicholson, Margaret Howell, very cool, you know, what's the other brands? A whole load of other brands, right? That look very cool and like slightly hipstery. Like a small agency architect / creative strategist walking down the streets of Clapton in East London, if you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I thought I was going to do it with a mohair with 1 strand. So I took 1 cake and I patiently put it on the table and unwound it gently into 2 separate cakes, like the nutter that I am. I actually really enjoyed that process. But obviously in the end I went for 2 strands for this project, which was dumb because I now have 2 small cakes that I didn't end up using. Yeah, and they're somewhere in my stash. And if I have to hold 2 together and pull 2 at the same time, I might cry. Talk about crying. I did very nearly cry on this because the Italian bind off in this unspun was not pretty. I have a very anxiety inducing lot of stories I think I've saved in my highlights on doing this. So because it's so floofy and unspun, when you have to pull a bit, like pull a bit to get that Italian bind off done nice and neat and tight, maybe I pull too tight, I don't know, but it works fine for me. It breaks because it's just floof, like I said. So I devised a plan, having discovered splicing like everybody else in the knitting world does, from my Louvre sweater, where I just would break off. By break, I mean literally like the teeniest pull for this unspun yarn to fall apart. Break off the 2 strands that I was holding together of this manchelo piece from the one cake, and I'd break it off to about this length, so I had enough to knit with comfortably and to pull. And then as I got more and more like shorter of that one bit, I guess about 20 centimeters or so, that looks a bit dodgy, doesn't it? But yeah, about 20 centimeters or so, then I would spit, splice on the next chunk. That worked great, and you can't even see it. And yeah, my edges are brilliant. Italian bind offs on the sleeves, Italian bind offs on the bottom ribbing. This looks incredibly wide because, like I said, I'm normally the 2nd or 3rd size, like the medium. And I knit this up in the large because I was like, yeah, I want it oversized. Frankly, it's too boxy. It gives very 80s vibes because this panel, the shoulder panel before the ribbing, it comes like, it's almost not double, maybe like 50% wider than my shoulders. My shoulder's here and it's got this much more. So of course then it looks like, woo, winged something or other. And yeah, and it's the circumference is also incredibly wide. I kind of love that sometimes and I kind of don't. I wish it was a good, like, so what's that, like 20 centimeters less than circumference. That's too much ease, having picked the wrong size. But again, I'm not going to be undoing this because it's unspun yarn. So yeah, it was an absolute joy to knit with because I love this yarn so much. So many firsts here again. It was my first vest, so it was my first time doing like panel bits, right? My first time doing a shoulder like this, so the panel bit on any vest that you see. My first time doing a vest, so picking up the stitches on the armhole and doing just the ribbing. My first time doing a folded over collar. And yeah, I love it. I did think about making adjustments to this without like taking any yarn out, and that would have been almost like, I spoke to Anna about this at Wild and Woolly, because I want to remove like this much, right, like this flap here. So what if I folded it over like so and like sewed it up, right, like just sewed it up, and then, or a bit like steeking, I guess, then you can just chop the rest off. But I'm gonna leave it. It's great. I love it. It is what it is. So that's that. I love it. And I bought 2 more colours of the Manchelo piece, and I'll be doing stuff with it for sure. Okay, we're now on nearly 40 minutes. Good grief. Okay, I need to make a move. So the next is, oh yeah, another note about that. It grew loads with blocking that yarn. So I would in the future steam it, which is my new favorite mode of blocking to make the stitches even out. And bloom, I love that yarn so much. I really, really love it. Then next I did, because then I got into Vestland, because wait, how long did that take me? I took notes. Wait, how long did that take me? That took me from the beginning of March to the beginning of May. So March, April, 2 months. So we're getting shorter now. Not really, there's no sleeves on that. So then I went on to the Burgos vest by Rosa Pomar, because I love all the yarn selection that Wild and Woolly has, which is a lot of the Rosa Pomar. And I love the Joao. And I had, by this point, because when was this? Beginning of April. By this point, I was eyeballs deep in absolutely loving anything knitting related. And I was like, I must go visit more yarn shops. So I took myself to Beautiful Knitters in Pimlico, which is a complete, literally, I'm like East London, like here, and it's like Southwest London, it's like there. But yeah, I made the trip, and it's not difficult, it's on the tube. And yeah, it was glorious. It was just very different yarns, and a very different vibe. and it was really good to go have a look. And they had some Cardiff cashmere there, which I thought was beautiful, and I actually grabbed a ball because I am constantly on the lookout for the perfect blue, that Eve Klein blue, that it's very pigmented and like bright, but it's not dull. It's amazing. It's the Eve Klein blue. Let me see if I can like put a little clip of that here. I don't know, but yeah, so I got a ball of that. I also ended up getting a sweaters quantity to add to that, and the dye lots aren't too different, but let's not go into that. And I was walking past a like sale box thing, and they had some Surrey alpaca, because at this point I was like, I don't like mohair, it's fluffy, it goes in my eyes, I wear contacts. No. But they had this Surrey alpaca, and I was like, oh, what is this? It's so soft. It's not scratchy like mohair, or sort of scratchy like mohair. What is this? And what is this hand-dyedness? Like, we have hand-dyed yarn locally at Wild and Woolly, but I'd never seen like this whole wall of like this Sledding, Zakami yarns, like a whole host of other brands. And I was like, this is knitting nirvana. Is this what they talk about? So I grabbed 2 skeins because it was the only 2 colors they had left. I knew at that point, I knew nothing about yardage. I knew nothing about how much, you know, how to think about what now seems very simple, like how many meters do you need rather than, you know, how many balls or skeins. And yeah, I got some, and it's called Spring Daffodils. That's the color, by Zakami, and it's a Surrey alpaca. And then I took the White Joao, which is a lovely yarn by Rosa Pomar from Wild and Woolly, and I knit the Burgos vest. Oh my god, excuse me, there are some loose ends here. Whoop. But yes, so this one is like so. The color's so beautiful, like the variegation. And is this variegated? It's so glorious. And having looked at the skein, you'd never think that it even comes up like this. It's got a tiny bit of green to make you think very spring, and mostly this like lovely purpley pink in tiny bits, and a bit of orange, my other favorite-ish sort of color. So this is a vest done in panels with a really beautiful shoulder bit detail. Zoom. Yeah, sort of, whatever. And it's got 2x2 ribbing, and it's got buttons. So my first time doing buttons on a garment, and it's like so. So this was hilarious. Okay, so this is a worsted, or is it a worsted weight, knit up in 5mm. So sport and lace, as called for in the pattern. And the Surrey, which is a little bit thicker than mohair. I went for a size 4, again, too big. And again, this is something that I'm working on. I'm between like a size 3 and a 4 in lots of patterns, or like between a small and a medium, because I'm quite like triangular, so I'm quite like wide here. Oh god, show my boobs. Is that quite wide here? So I'm between like a 93, 95, depending on the day of the cycle, right? And but then the rest of me is very much like the size below, and my shoulders are a little bit big, but yeah, and I think I don't sit right, all of that, you know. So I'm somewhere in between, so I really want to learn how to adjust patterns so I get like the perfect fit, because that is the beauty of making our own garments, isn't it? But yes, what was I talking about? The vest, yeah. So yeah, this, it's slightly too big, but I still love it. I've got the yarn already to make a very plain blue version in the Blue Joao with a blue mohair, which I've now slightly changed my mind on, and I'll be knitting up more stuff with that. And I think that's the Gepard Kids Setter mohair. I think that's also called for in the pattern. Yeah, Rosa Pomar, Retrosaria Rosa Pomar in Portugal have similar ethics and brand values as the Wool Dreamers who make the Manchalopes. And except, of course, Rosa Pomar is championing Portuguese heritage sheep brands and yarn and crafts there with fibre. Something which I am very much interested in learning more about. So yeah, I love this garment. I wear it a lot. As I said, it's got 2x2 ribbing all around. The edges, first time doing the buttons. I got these buttons off of Etsy. Again, like first time ordering off of Etsy in a long time, since our wedding, I think. They're very nice. Okay, won't zoom, but anyway, whatever that. There is a little error in the pattern which I've queried in Ravelry on the pattern page, and I think some other people have responded on that too. and Anna at Wild and Woolly helped me out, and Helen as well, from the Sweater Club like chat group that we have. On reading it, it slightly drove me out of my mind, but yeah, it's pretty simple. I think I've got it jotted down in my Ravelry, so if you want to go to my projects page, it's all on there. I'm trying to be better with Ravelry, I really am. What else? Oh yeah, so this is 2x2 ribbing, and I was like, Petite Knit does this Italian bind off thing. It's so neat, I love it. Why doesn't this pattern have Italian bind off? So if you look, I looked it up because I was like, Italian bind off, I must have Italian bind off, Italian bind off. So I went and looked it up, and I think it was one of the YouTube videos was like, well, if you want 2x2 and then to have an Italian bind off, you can't do it directly. You have to convert the 2x2 into a 1x1 rib. Then you can do a bind off. So I did do that on the bottom. Stupid, won't be doing that again, because look, can you see that? Yeah, it leans a bit. Can you see it? It leans this bit. So it's not very nice. Anyway, I did that. I'm not going to unpick it. And I didn't do it on the sleeves or the neckline. I just did the very simple usual cast off, which the pattern calls for, and it's fine. I had to do the sleeve cast offs again because they were too tight and they were like, and then it didn't look right and it distorted the fabric. But I think, again, that's a very classic beginner thing to do, isn't it? And I love it. I absolutely love it. I love this combination. I'll be making a lot more in Surrey with the Joao, I think. So that goes back into this bag. That was project number 5, and that was the end of May. Then I started my magnum opus, which took me a very long time. I started at the end of April, and it took me until mid-September. So what's that? May, June, July, August. 4.5 months. And I was like, I want a cable jumper. And again, this was one that was led by Yarn Choice. It's the Robinson by Naturum de Rerum Natura. Yeah, de Rerum Natura, a French brand that Wild and Woolly stocks. And it's glorious. I also bought another 2 colors, sweater quantities, because I am mad. I am super mad. And it's beautiful. It's a Japanese pattern. And I was like, I want to learn how to do cables. Look at this. What's a good way to show you? Look at it. This is also Rich Big Beige, isn't it? This is also RBB. Oh, God. It's like so. I can't show. Oh, there we go. Isn't it glorious? I swatched the cable pattern. And it's the first time I swatched in the round. It was really hard. I had to do it over and over and over again because I'm that person who just wants to keep doing it again and again and again and again until I've got it right. This is a worsted weight, 1 strand of the Robinson. The pattern is the Machi sweater by Noriko Ichigawa, is it? Noriko? On Instagram. I'll put them all in the comments box, the descriptions box. Ooh, that feels weird saying that. I picked the size 2. Again, I picked it too big. It's the wrong size. But I love it. I'm not gonna do this bad boy again. It is a, what did she say? A contiguous or a saddle shoulder construction, right? I think this is saddle, right? Yeah, saddle. This is a saddle shoulder construction. And very interestingly, it has a gusset. What a horrific word. It just makes me think of knickers. A gusset. Like classic Guernseys, I understand. And it has 2x2 ribbing, but rolled neck, which is now very much in fashion, isn't it? And the rolled edges as well, with the 2x2 ribbing for the sleeves. And it's bottom up construction, which I'd never done before, and I'm not a big fan of that. But hey, you live and learn. And here you go. The bottom has this glorious hem. Split hem. Split hem. These panels. Oh, they're so beautiful. I did these panels, each of them 3 times. This is the 3rd time. And I was like, I'm not going to change it. And I was so pleased because there were so many mistakes. I couldn't fix it and I wanted it perfect. And it took me so long, and then I was so pleased. I joined, and then, you know, started the stockinette stitch for the rest of the body, which also has a little detail up the sides, I guess. This like really gorgeous cabling. And yeah, realized I used the wrong needle size for the hem. Who cares? It's beautiful. I do care, but it's beautiful. I'm not going to do it again. So yeah, I love this. I wear it a lot. The Robinson is a 70/30 unbleached organic merino and recycled cotton respectively. I love this yarn. It is unbelievably awesome to knit with, and I wanted this as a really lovely summer jumper because London doesn't have the hottest weather in the summer, and also, like, if you're on holiday and stuff, you can just sort of swing it across your shoulders, and then you're just sort of showing off the cables all the time, which I love. This is very nice, isn't it? So yeah, so that's it. What have I got? Yeah, first time bottom up, first time doing cables, first time doing eyelets, first time doing a saddle shoulder construction, first time doing gussets, first time everything. And this is probably what got me hooked onto knitting, as in, like, forever and ever. I won't ever stop knitting garments, kind of love. So that's that, my big love getting stuff into the bag. Then obviously I got a bit like, oh, I love knitting, I love this world. And I applied for a test knit. I had applied for several, but I didn't get onto many of them. But then I got to this one. I got onto the test knit for the Montaria sweater vest by Rosa Pomar, and she had done this pattern to promote a more summery yarn, which is the Mungo, and it's very nice, and I love a vest. And I was sick of the RBB, I was sick of the British beige, and I wanted a bit more colour, but I didn't want it too bright, and I wanted something that I could wear with like white trousers or blue jeans or like linen naturally trousers on top. And again, oversized. I think I sized up too much again. And this is a worsted weight on 4.5 millimeters. This is in the color 10. It's a sort of yellowy, what is this? Is this a mulled yarn? It's really beautiful. It is a 50/50 cotton and wool, and it's really interesting. It's recycled yarn made from entirely post-consumer waste, generated by the Portuguese spinning mills. Yeah, it's fascinating, all that stuff. I really want to learn more. It's got very simple shoulder sort of detail. It's very loose, which I like. And again, look, this is really big, so it like drapes down, which I kind of like, because in the summer I like to cover this bit a bit. I don't want to show this bit. Like, this is where I'm the chunkiest. I don't want to show that off. So cover that, and it's got really beautiful ribbing detail, which is slightly different to what you might normally see, like so. Yeah, and it's got a round neck that's a little bit deeper for the summer. I love it. The pattern is out now. It took a while because I believe the Mungo, because of course it's all recycled, there had been a shortage of that, but they've now got it. Some people have knit it up in some really beautiful colours. They've got some neutrals, and there's a really nice green, which was also on my list. And one of my Instagram friends that I have made, called Aida, she is Petite. She lives in Barcelona. She's Catalana. And yeah, we sort of started chatting on Instagram a little bit. I love it when that happens. I really love this community. And yeah, then we were like, hey, we're on this test knit together. Fab. Yeah, so we did that. This actually brings back, before I stop, brings back a lot of memories, because I finished this and did most of this in September on our big summer holiday of 2023, which was the first couple of weeks of September, on a Greek island, one of the Cycladic islands, just next to Mykonos, which isn't particularly our cup of tea, but I don't think we've seen much of it. But yeah, the island that we went to was called Tinos, and it was so beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, untouched. And yeah, this will always bring back memories of walking to late night tavernas and grabbing their homemade wine in plastic bottles, which I love. So that was project number 7. Project number 8, I got onto another test knit, again at the same time as sort of that, but it's an accessory. And this is by Fluffwear, and it's a little neckerchief. It's the first time I knit on the beach, this thing, and it, again, really amazing memories. I'm just looking out because my husband's painting the wall and he's in this white suit. But yeah, and it's so gorgeous. It's so soft. And I was gonna say, when did I do this? September. And I came up with a name for this pattern because I thought it looked like fern. Well, no, it wasn't me. It was one of the other testers who put in a picture of a fern. And then I was like, hey, fern fluff, because the designer is Fluffwear. And here it is. It's gorgeous. It's got a lovely spine, and it's really long. I did the longest one, and obviously it's a great stash buster. Before I went on holiday, my friend Helen of the Wool Kitchen had said that, had posted that she was dyeing up this neon line, which is just gorgeous. So yeah, I went to have a coffee with her and like desperate was like, please, I want to come pick my order up. So I bought some mohair, and she uses gorgeous silk mohair, and it's probably the first time I was like, okay, I'm in love with mohair. This is what people are talking about. And it's like rainbow. It comes up like this, and it's held with this 100% merino 4-ply, which I got at Romney Marsh Wools when we had a weekend away in Rye, which is a really beautiful town, not far from London. And Merchant and Mills is based there. So yeah, I was like, we must find a yarn shop. And I made my husband drive to this farm in the middle of nowhere, and I had messaged the lady, the owner, and was like, hey, you guys open? And basically it's just like a shed, and she's got all this stuff because she goes to lots of shows and markets at really beautiful stately homes to show off all her yarns. I thoroughly recommend it. She had lots of education and information for me about the breed of the Romney Marsh sheep, who've been there for hundreds of years, I believe, and their family's been doing it for generations, and they are sheep farmers, and they're her sheep. And she also has some fabrics that she gets milled, done by mills in the UK, and she showed me them, and they're really beautiful. So yeah, this has got great memories. And then this is, the edging is by Chaos Yarn, which is quite like a new brand, and it's sort of like this very modern neon-y pink, which I thought went really well with the rainbow edge. This was fun. This is like a little bit of fun, you know. I'm gonna wear it. Yeah, I don't like wearing it uber tight, you know, like some people with the Sophie scarf do this and then do this. Like, this look is not for me because my neck's like it doesn't do anything for me. So what I want to do is get this fatter bit around the back so it warms me. This is nice and long. Whoop, I wheel myself back, and look, I do it like this, and maybe like so. So there's like a loop here. There we go. So I'm gonna wear it. It's nice and cold here. So there you go. Yeah, so you knit it up and then you do an I-cord edge. And this Chaos yarn I had got from Tangled Yarn in the UK, and it was because I'd done an online order in my manic like yarn buying phase, and I needed to make up some, you know, the amount for the minimum postage. It was lovely. I loved it. It was really fun helping her with the layout of the pattern and a few little bits and bobs from the test knit itself. And it also got me thinking, maybe I really quite like tech editing, but I don't know about grading in sizes. My mind goes like this. It's because I have a little bit of a graphic design background, having done a course to learn some skills in that after I quit my corporate law job, bowed out after my accident. Yeah, it was the first time knitting on the beach, like I said. So beautiful. I've got some really good highlights on Instagram on this as well. So that was object number 8. Then I knit a lot of baby bonnets because loads of my friends have had babies or second babies throughout this whole year. So I've just been pushing out the bonnets. I knit up the Rigmor's bonnet, which is sort of like a lace knit pattern by Petite Knit. I might put a clip here. And I knit that up in, it's a DK weight, 4mm needle, and I knit that up in the Vauveau by Rosa Pomar in a pale yellow. It's so beautiful. I really love the yarn. It's perfect for babies as well. It feels quite toothy and sheepy, but actually when you block it, it's really soft. It's really lovely, and the colours are... There was something funny about the lace chart, like the placement of the eyelets for the lace, but I figured it out. And it was the first time that I had read off of a chart for a small object as well, because obviously the cable jumper, the Machi sweater that I'd done, that was the first time I read off a chart as well. Oh yeah, I really need to record my first times, right? I think that'll be a really fun thing to do. The Rigmor's bonnet by Petite Knit, it said to cast off the last stitches at the bottom of the bonnet here, and then you just cast on and do the I-cord. But I read some of the project pages, which is I think when I started getting a bit more savvy about using Ravelry, looking at the project pages, and yeah, someone had said don't bother casting off, just put them on hold and then straight away onto the I-cord. It was perfect. That was my first time I was doing I-cord. Ta-da! Well, I-cord strings, because I'd done an I-cord edging on this. That was project number 9. Then project number 10, I was like, yeah, as I said, I was like, okay, well, this lace bonnet is lovely, but having to do this lace pattern, like, is not particularly quick, no matter how small this bonnet was. So I was like, I need a tiny, small little bonnet with like a little nipple thing on the top. And I don't know, I was on Etsy or I was on Ravelry or something, and I know there are loads of free patterns, and I think I'm going to avail myself more of free patterns in the future if I can now, you know, make a few modifications or improve some of the pattern to better suit what I'm trying to make. But at that point in time, I was like, I'm very happy to, you know, support designers who have spent their time writing up patterns and making it easy for me to quickly do things and get used to reading and following patterns. So this was a random one by a designer called Sharyn Armstrong, and the pattern is the Gumnut hat, and it also comes with a bootie, which I don't particularly like the look of and I haven't knitted up. But yeah, the Gumnut hat, I did 1, 2, 3, 4 of them after that, which brings us to, that was project number 10, 11, 12 and 13. And I knitted them up. They're all DK weight with 4mm needles. The pattern calls for 3.75mm, but I went up. And yeah, I did that in the West Yorkshire Spinners from Wild and Woolly in the pure Bo Peep. It's just so gorgeous. It's just such a gorgeous colour. I have a pink and the sand colour, which is a neutrally RBB colour, and also the yellow, which is when I'd done that first ever project, the baby cardigan. Yeah. And I also did one of the bonnets I did for a really good friend of mine. For various reasons, the theme was a bumblebee. So it was the first time I'd done anything striped. I used the Vauveau in the yellow and the black, and I had some left over from the Rigmor bonnet, so it was perfect. And I created a bumblebee pattern on this. Maybe I'll put a picture here. I don't know if I have one. I think it's on my Ravelry. And then instead of just the one I-cord, I put on 2, so it's got like an antennas like a bumblebee. It was very cute. It was very sweet. I literally blocked that where I was staying, and then like had to hair dry it because I was only able to see her for that short period of time to gift it. So that brings us to 13 projects. Then I did two sledding scarves by Liu Zhou. There's a bit of, I don't quite understand on Instagram, like Misha and Puff seem to have a pattern that's similar. I don't have an example because I've gifted them. And again, I did one in the Bo Peep Pure whatever by West Yorkshire Spinners, held with a surrey in the colour Feather, I think, by Oliver and Olivia Fibres, which I got at my Ivy room. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I was doing it this Christmas just gone very quickly for someone, a baby, well, a 2-year-old who I'd totally forgotten their birthday. Ooh. And as I was doing it, I ran out of yarn and I was like, oh crap. So I did it a duo-toned one. So I did half the teardrop and then like half of the garter, the main part of the neck, I guess, in this sand colour plus the surrey and feather. And then the other half, I had some other yarn, which was a woolly knit cone in oatmeal, I believe. The British, 100% British yarn, held double with the suri, the same suri, so that there's sort of cohesion throughout the colours and it's duotone. It's very pretty. And it got done very quickly. And then just before that, actually, it's not doing it in order, I had knitted up that pattern for a nephew. Same nephew that I did the yellow jumper, the first ever thing. In a green Donegal tweed by Studio Donegal, which I got at Wild and Woolly because the mama of the kid had come with us to pick the colour, which was really nice. That is done in 3.5 millimeters, garter mostly, and then the teardrops on each side are done, the shaping is done by doing knit front and backs, KFBs, which was the first time I'd done that, so that's kind of cool. And it also has these loops, so you can loop, you can so you can put the teardrop thing through so it holds a bit like cowl, I guess, so the kids can like run around. It's not going to untie. That was the first time I was splitting up stitches as well. And this free pattern has a little bit of a glitch in there where it doesn't tell you that you should just cut the yarn. So I did after a bit of like, when should I be joining, and nah, so the ends go, and then I was like, now I'm just gonna chop it. I did a lot of splicing for that if I needed to. Yeah, so that's 15 projects already, and I've got 2 more because it'll bring us to 17 projects. And that is, I was like, I love small, little, fiddly, detailed projects as much as I do big ones. Potentially more than that, more than the big ones, because there's a real satisfaction to having a project finished, right? And I was like, I am a sock knitter. I love socks. So I have literally like a box of sock yarn there, and I haven't even knitted up an entire pair of socks. But yes, I'm going to count these as finished objects because they're 1 sock of a pair each. The first thing I did was a plain stockinette. Ta-da! And it's I started off as per Anna at Wild and Woolly's suggestion, doing the Summer Lee's plain vanilla, whatever. I'm so basic socks. Again, a free pattern. I believe she has a book out now or very soon, and it's cuff down. And yeah, I was like, I can play cool with this. It doesn't have to be simple. So when I had gone to Loop at another time, and I was like, what's that? Madeline Tosh's like unicorn tails, very small bits of yarn. I was like, yes, gimme. And it's this gorgeous flecky thing. Oh, it's so pretty. So I did that on the cuff. It was the first time I'd done like this stretchy cast on. I don't remember what it's called. I will get better with my note taking moving forward. And this is a 2x2 rib for a little bit as per pattern. And then I bought some Mondim, Rosa Pomar. I love it. No nylon, it's 100% wool. And yeah, I didn't realize the pattern goes a bit like this. And then I got to sort of this, and I was like, oh, I don't like how that heel weird ribbingy sort of look thing goes. I don't know what it's called, but I know the Crazy Sock lady does basically all her heels like that. And I was like, no, it doesn't look. I guess I'm going for like a cleaner commercial look. So then I had a look, and so then I changed to this plain one by Albina McLaughlin, and I understand that's how you pronounce her name because I bumped into an Irish knitter who was shopping at my ivory room when I was there, and she was like, and I was talking to Valentina going, Albina, and she was like, it's Albina. I was like, okay, cool, that's what I'll call it. Yeah, and she has this plain sock pattern that I bought, and the finish is really beautiful. It looks like this. I don't know how it's called. I might do another video on just socks as I try all sorts of constructions like this. So then it goes like so. Oh, excuse me. So there's no real like visible bit except for this, which is a bit gappy, but I hope that's okay. And here where you've picked up a bit the bottom of the heel. Is that the gusset? Oh, what a horrible word. Anyway, it goes like this. And I've been marking them like the Crazy Sock lady because I really like that idea, but I don't have to keep counting. Again, I'm really impressed at my stitches. And then the toe, again, I've followed Albina McLaughlin's one, which is like this. Come along now. Yeah. And with these. Yeah. Yeah. I'm learning a lot. I will do another one to match this. It fits quite well. I have a sock blocker. I haven't blocked this yet. Because I wanted to keep it to match it to another one that I make. It's pretty good. I love it. 2.25 millimeter in the size medium. The Mondin is lovely. I love it. I bought quite a lot more of it. I did it with Magic Loop. I did this with Magic Loop, and then afterwards I was like, there are other shorter needles, and so yeah, I'll try that. Then very recently, I promised them for Christmas, but I'm nearly done with the second sock because I got waylaid with the sledding scarf stuff, 2 of them. And this is a finished sock for my husband. I wanted a DK weight because the house that we've moved into is extremely cold and I haven't blocked it yet. And he picked out this color himself. It's the John Arbon's Exmoor sock. The label is so gorgeous. Do I have that here? Somewhere. Oh, I'll share it at another point. And it's in the color Hamel green, really gorgeous green. And I was like, I want to support other knitting designers, so I found Paula Strict. Is that Paula Strict? Whatever her name is. I'm sorry, I'm butchering your name. And she has a 2x2 rib DK weight with a shadow wrap heel, which was the first time I was doing this, which is though my second sock is a lot neater, but this one's not as neat, and it looks like it's going to be quite gappy, but we'll see. And again, crazy sock ladies method of counting all the stuff because I'm doing the second sock now. The pattern for Paula Strict, the modification I did for this, the pattern actually calls for 1x1 ribbing at the first bit of the cuff. Oh, this is also top. This is top down, by the way. Hang on. Maybe this was toe up. I'm not sure which one I prefer. I'll let you know. But yeah, so I cast on in a German twisted cast on, which was the first time I'd done it. And it was relatively easy to follow using a video and yeah, learning new things. I love it. 2x2 rib, very stretchy. My husband's quite slim. His legs are much nicer than mine. So these look great on him. And yeah, this is his size. And this toe construction I really like. And I had to Kitchener the end, which the last 2 stitches or so, 4 stitches. And I'd never done that before, so I learned that. And the toe looks like this. And it's like this. Yeah. So in comparison to this one, which is the Albina McLaughlin one, there's no this one has a line down the middle and this one doesn't. But yeah, I hope that's visible. So yeah, when I finish the second one, this one will be my first finished sock. We're now at 1 hour and 12 minutes. That was 17 projects. 17 projects in just over a year. My first year of knitting. That's actually quite incredible if I look at it like that myself. I've only actually got, let me see, garments wise, like adult size garments, I've got one, the Montaria sweater, the Machi sweater, the vest, the other vest, Montaria, Machi, Burgos, vest number 1, Louvre sweater, warm-up sweater. So six garments, 3 with sleeves in a year. First time knitting. I'll take that. I'll take that. I'm not sure if I'm going to be much speedier, to be honest, but my mind's now all over racing with my entire yarn stash, my list, and I try and keep things organized, but I'm going to sit down and properly get organized. Yeah, I hope. This is 1 hour and 13 minutes. I'm going to have to stop soon. In fact, I will stop. I'm not going to show you my whips. I'll do that in another video. Maybe I'll label this as 2023 wrapped. Yeah, I'm taking liberties with all the things I knitted in 23 because, yeah, some of them I finished in December 22, but whatever. Yeah, and my whips are just endless. I started to write them down and I have 12 whips that I've written down, and I know that's not even I think that's about half of them. That includes socks, to be fair. And lots of things that I've just been languishing, like one jumper on Sleeve Island, one vest that just needs the ribbing done on the armholes, lots of new yarns that I've been trying out. So yeah. I also wanted to end every YouTube video with some favorite accessories or things that I've been loving. And I think today I want to end it with this one. Yeah, it's a sort of makeshift accessory. So I love tea. Maybe it's also being British. So, or maybe I'll end with two today. This, my mug. From the brand Sosha. It's a potter in Cambridge, a ceramicist. And she's called Sophie, and this is lovely. And I got it at the Chuffed store, which my friend Millie runs. I don't know if I've said that at the beginning, because I worked there when they had a Christmas pop-up for 6 weeks, and it's wonderful. And there's a brand Zosha, comes from the nickname, I believe, that Sophie's mum used to call her. I love these stories. And she used to also write letters to her and end them with a drawing of these flower motifs. So she's incorporated them into a design. So I love this. Some chamomile tea. And this is a knitting tool. This bad boy. Focus. This I found at Fortnum and Mason's, which is, well, just Google it. It's a lovely shop in central London. Very old, like, grocers, I guess. And they have like an amazing tea selection. And they had this as like a take with you. So it had round tea bags in them. And the tin just pops out. And I filled this with, ta-da, with some of my favorite knitting tools. So this row counter, a plastic one. Why don't they make prettier ones than this? I don't quite understand. These things, which are clover. These things, which are clover, which have been holding my needles, which are great. I've also just ordered some needle stoppers because I think I need them now. I've gone to metal knitting needles. And then obviously the Merchant & Mills bulb ones, because I bought them when I was in Rye. How do people do this on YouTube videos? Valentina is now stocking these at my Ivory Room, I think. They're gorgeous. And then some gold bits, like just rings, jump rings, I think, but like slightly textured because I like them, which I got from Etsy, which, for God's sake, which I got to make my own stitch markers, which I still haven't done. I've dropped it. Oh no, I've got it. A heart-shaped clover one that I got in something, I think, which I really love. It's just plastic. And then these Cocoa Knits ones, which are slightly bigger size. And yeah, and I love like this edging on the tin, because when you put it and then you just, yeah, and then it pops. Oh, that's satisfying. Although my rescue dog just jumps and runs away and hides when he hears this, so I try and muffle the sound of it. So yeah, so that's it. An hour and 20 minutes nearly. I'm so sorry. I'm going to try and edit and put clips of my outfit and put in all the details. But here is my pledge. I am not going to let that stop me from uploading a video as soon as I can. Well, it's Sunday, the 7th of January today. I'm going to try and post once every week for a bit of a ramble. And I hope to see you guys here. Happy knitting. Happy Sunday. I hope you are keeping cozy with all the snow and stuff. We don't have snow here, but yeah, that's the mood I'm in. And around me, behind me, I will try and make and look a bit more cozy and have a nice background. So please tell me if there's things that you would like to see in the background, that you'd like to hear my views about as a beginner knitter, pretty much. And any patterns and yarns that you suggest as well. Happy knitting, guys. Bye.